Here are our top 10 merchandise category year-over-year change. These categories make up 80% of what we sell inside of our stores. 8 out of 10 of the top 10 categories had positive sales and gross profit dollar growth year over year. Everybody should give themselves a hand over that one. Shining stars this year, OTP and packaged beverage. And then all the attachments that went along with these beverages showed up with nice gains in salty and alternative snacks. Now, here's a slide for the category managers and suppliers in the audience. Here are our top 10 merchandise categories on a per store, per month basis. Cigarettes led the pack, literally packs, in sales, but packaged beverage put the most money in the bank. Packaged beverage made over $10,000 in gross profit per store per month last year. Now, this slide shows merchandise gross profit dollar growth for the past 36 months. Over this time frame, total merchandise has grown 10%. All the categories above the total merchandise trend line had nice sales growth, and those below it are not trending with the other categories. Packed beverage is driving sales. OTP is climbing really quickly. If you look at it, total merchandise over this time frame is up 10%. Packed bev OTP up 21% and salty snacks up 20%. That's huge for us. For some reason, beer sales really took off in the second half of this year. Now, here's a trailing 36 months showing the gross profit dollar growth. Just like my last slide, packaged beverage and OTP led the way. But keep in mind, any category above the total merchandise trend line is doing well, as they are up over 13% from that period. The way NACS identifies top quartile is through store operating profit. So, the top quartile column is a profile of the most profitable firms in the sample. You will notice that in most cases, top quartile does twice the sales of the bottom quartile. I think Billy has already mentioned that earlier. Now, for everybody in the room, don't kid yourself. Top quartile and bottom quartile may sell a lot of the same items, but they are running two completely different businesses. Just look at the difference in the numbers comprising the merchandise categories. Top quartile is especially crushing it in food and dispensed beverages. In addition to selling more, top quartile margins are better than the bottom in almost every category. An oddity this year is the improvement in cigarette margins over the bottom quartile. Also notable is that top quartile is 4 points higher in margin in packed bev and other tobacco products. They're not heavily discounting these categories anymore. Another notable look is how top quartile is almost 25 points, yes, 25 points higher in margin in dispensed beverage than bottom quartile is. Just like the wealth effect wearing off from cheap fuels, our cigarette wealth effect, compliments of CVS last year, seems to be wearing off. In 2016, units were down almost across the board. Smoking rates continue to decline, down 5% over the last 15 years. But while boomers are not quitting, unfortunately their numbers are diminishing. But we definitely need to cater to them with other products in our stores that they may need, because they are a great customer of ours. Millennials are quitting smoking, but hopefully they're switching to the OTP category. Overall, the cigarette share of our in-store sales continue to decline year over year. Now, this slide does not look very good for the category, but we're still selling a lot of cigarettes. But we're also selling a lot of things in addition to cigarettes. In an earlier slide, I showed you that we sell 88.6% of cigarettes across all channels. That's up from last year where we were selling 88.4% in 2015. Now, every year we do a cigarette state tax increase slide showing the last 10 years of kind of what's been happening in taxes across all the states. Already in 2017, California and Minnesota have increased cigarette taxes. California is up a whopping $2 a pack this year in 2017, and Minnesota is up an additional 4 cents over and above what they went up last year. So if you pay attention to the very bottom line here, if your state's in the bottom and it's not in red, you really need to keep a watch on what's happening in your state legislatures. Now, here's a look at the subcategories under the cigarette category. The premium subcategory is by far the largest of the four. But look at the switch in share from branded discount to subgeneric private that happened last year. It's definitely something for us to keep our eye on. Just like sales, the gross profit dollars is in the premium subcategory. But there's quite a margin bounce of over 2% between premium and subgeneric private. This is another thing to be aware of. Now let's look at the cigarette affinity comparison. This is another data point that we got from SwiftIQ. It appears that people were flush with money in 2015. They purchased high-margin items from us with their cigarette purchases. Now, these affinities were very profitable items to us. If you look at the 2015 side, they purchased things like soft drinks, juices, energy drinks, hot dispensed beverages. Now, move over to your right and look at 2016. Our shoppers went back to the essentials. Our cigarette shoppers bought gas, beer, and newspapers. OTP, 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 my, have you been good to me. Hopefully this is where our millennial cigarette smokers are going. Units were up every month in 2016. Again, units were up every month in 2016. Smokeless still clearly is a driver of the OTP category with 61% of the sales. However, more people are converting to alternative ways to consume nicotine. Cigar units outpace sales because of the pre-priced promotional packaging. That's a tough one, pre-priced promotional packaging. E-cigarette units and sales almost mirrored that of the cigar results. OTP, a great category for us. Sales and gross profit dollars were both up double digits. However, there are some headwinds to watch in the category. This is crazy. 480 local tobacco ordinances in 2015. 675 ordinances proposed during 2016. 80 states and cities have adopted flavor bans. More states are increasing age requirements to 21. Both state and local ordinances are going after this category. Now, let's talk about packaged beverages, which is our #1 gross profit dollar merchandise category. Our stores have a huge variety of beverages in them. This makes us a destination for our immediate consumable thirsty customer. Units were up almost every month this year. Warm weather was definitely a factor if you look at the month of July. Our beverage assortment and variety are a fantastic competitive advantage over our QSR competition. 6 out of 8 of the subcategories showed sales growth. Alternative, bottled water, enhanced water, soft drinks really showed strong growth in sales and units. The industry as a whole has embraced lower calorie count and portion control and are aligned with better for you trends. In addition to unit increases, sales and gross profit gains show that the category is in great shape. The overall category is doing well, but a really great thing, if you look up and down this category as far as the evenness of the monthly gross profit dollars, it's pretty astonishing. Now here's something pretty cool this year. In 2016, for the first time ever, bottled water overtook carbonated soft drink in total gallons consumed per capita. Again, bottled water overtook carbonated soft drink in total gallons consumed per capita. Also, alternative energy just keeps on growing. 6 years ago, alternative energy was about half the size of carbonated soft drinks. It is now 84% of the size of carbonated soft drink sales. Okay, let's move on to the beer category. 2016, a stellar year in volume growth for the category, up 3.2%. Like premium fuels and premium cigarettes, the premium category dominates this. Import and craft beers do continue to grow double digits, however, but premium dominates the category. If your stores are tight on space and you need to allocate for beer, really be aware of this fact. With healthy sales gains and gross profit dollar gains, the beer category is a win-win for both retailers and suppliers. But remember that premium also dominates gross profit dollars, but also really watch the import subcategory. It's performing great. And speaking of imports, something to watch is the overall size now of the import subcategory. With the size it has grown to, the double-digit growth is very impactful to the category as a whole now. Mexican imports seem to be really driving this growth. Salty snacks, this one's growing for us. Traditional day parts for meals have changed. Snacking is now an all-day reality and activity. Remember that millennials are our snacking generation. Volumes trended up most months out of the year. Chips still rule this category. Puff cheese and popcorn items really showed nice gains in both units and sales increases. But for some reason, 2015, we were really up in nuts, seeds, and pretzels, but it declined this year, and that's something to watch. This category had impressive results in both sales and gross profit dollars as both grew last year. Now let's move on to the candy category. Unfortunately, last year, units trended down in this category. Bagged and pegged candy did a great job this year. Consumers love the flexibility of snacking and portion control with stand-up bags and resealable packaging. Novelties and seasonal items are driving both sales and units. While the units were off, overall sales and profits did well. It's really nice to see that gross profit dollar growth outpaced sales growth for us last year in this category. So now, let's move on to alternative snacks. Overall units decreased last year, but only slightly. The two largest subcategories, meat snacks and health bars, grew in sales dollars. Granola bars are a small subcategory, but they showed great growth. Keep in mind that meat snacks and protein bars make up more than 85% of the category when we're making our space allocation decisions. Now here's another strong performance. This is another strong performance from this category. Overall, the category had gains in both sales and gross profit dollars. And now let's move on to food service. We saw healthy growth in the category last year. Prepared food grew the fastest due to companies switching from commissary sandwiches to made-to-order sandwiches. The liquid side of the category grew sales and gross profit dollars as well. However, we really need to watch what's going on with frozen dispensed beverage. It has seen both sales and gross profit dollar declines for the last 2 years. Food service is driving, again, really driving profits for us, with prepared food leading the way in both sales dollars and gross profit dollars. Hot dispensed beverage is solidly leading the way on the liquid side of the category. And now, here's a look at the sales for the last 36 months. A few years ago, dispensed beverage was carrying the weight of this category. Prepared food is now doing all the work. It is the only subcategory that shows consistent growth above the total food service trend line. Cold and hot dispensed beverages are trending positively, however. So here's what's happening over the last 3 years in food service gross profit dollars. The overall trend line shows that the food category gross profit dollars are growing at 19% over the last 3 years. Again, prepared food is doing the heavy lifting by growing 22%. And like my last slide, prepared food is the only subcategory above the trend line. I want to thank you for having me today, and let's all have a great 2017.